This podcast is sponsored by Pogo, Property Operations on the Go. Facility managers know how challenging it can be to keep everything running smoothly. That's why Pogo was created, a white-labeled software solution designed by property managers for property managers. Pogo is your ultimate all-in-one platform for managing multiple assets. With Pogo, you communicate with your tenants, manage maintenance requests, control property access, manage bookable spaces, and much more. Plus, with advanced analytics, Pogo empowers you to optimize your operations anytime, anywhere. The best part? Pogo is completely customizable to fit your brand and business. Simplify your operations, enhance tenant satisfaction, and save money with Pogo. Ready to make the switch? Visit gopogo.us to schedule your demo today. Pogo, one system, multiple solutions at your fingertips. Mark Defford here for Real Opportunity, and we're really thankful to have Rachel here with CityCare. We're going to talk a little bit about homelessness. You're CEO of CityCare, correct?
I am.
How long have you been with CityCare?
I've been with CityCare about 9.5 years now.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the beginning, and let's go through everything, what we're doing here in the city. But I want to hear a little bit about you. How'd you get involved in CityCare?
Yeah. I've been in nonprofit work in Oklahoma City for about 22 years. And over that time, I kept colliding with this realization that I was serving folks who did not have access to stable housing. And stable housing really is the foundation of everything. That's where everything
makes
can
you feel good about yourself.
You
got a place and a home.
Yeah,
right.
and where everything can be built upon.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was introduced to CityCare, and honestly, I had a year-long conversation with them about the transition because I really liked the work that I was in and liked where I was. And someone gave me the advice, and I'll never forget it. They said, follow your tears. And I think those of us that are in service work, we're a strange breed. You know, we kind of live heart broken wide open for our city. And so I decided to take that step from comfort into something that I knew a lot less about, but felt really drawn to.
Well, you and I don't really know each other that well. I saw you, didn't really talk to you the first time about a year ago, 6 months, 9 months, a year ago when you were raising money for a particular facility. What's that facility we were raising money for?
We're working on a medical respite facility. And we are in the business of serving folks who are experiencing and transitioning out of homelessness. So we do low barrier shelter, we do supportive housing. What we realized almost immediately when we opened our shelter in 2021 was that folks were coming to us very, very vulnerable, in very vulnerable states. And sometimes they were being discharged from the hospital into homelessness. So when someone goes into the hospital and they don't have a place to recuperate, they're either discharged to the streets or sometimes their care is delayed or not provided. If they need maybe a surgery or something and they don't have a place to recuperate, they won't get that surgery. Yeah. So we're opening a medical respite shelter to bridge that gap and working with the local hospital systems so that they can discharge to us. They can recuperate, just like you or I. If we have a surgery, we need to go home and we need to recuperate. And then we're going to work on that housing navigation piece so that they never re-enter the homeless response system.
So you've been with CityCare for how long?
9.5 years.
9.5 years.
Yeah.
Wow. So where are you guys located?
So we have shelters in Oklahoma City at the corner of General Pershing and Villa, and then we have one in Norman. And then all of our housing is in the West Lawn Gardens neighborhood. So over by the fairgrounds, we have 112 units we've built.
Okay, so I want to kind of talk a little bit about homelessness because everybody has a different feel and really don't really understand the complexities associated with that. And you hear people say, well, the homelessness or this, or the homelessness or that. And it's a little deeper than that. So kind of give me an idea of what brings somebody to ultimately be homeless.
Yeah. Thank you for asking that question. When people have an opinion that is very binary, it's very homelessness is this, the data point to me is they're not close enough to the issue. Come closer, and that's always my invitation.
Right.
Come closer, because what we find is that we have a lot of folks living in our shelters who are working, and they're working respectable jobs, but they have had a crisis, either a job loss, a health crisis, a change in family dynamic, but either incarceration or a divorce can push people into crisis. And I grew up in that same environment, and so I feel that very deeply. It's very personal to me. I was raised by a grandmother who worked 3 jobs to make ends meet. And so what I've learned is that it's not a moral issue. This is an issue of systems that do not leave space for people when crisis occurs. If you don't have that relational margin that you and I have to call someone when something comes up, when our car breaks down or something like that, that's why people end up experiencing homelessness.
So, but there's also an element that maybe the mental health issues associated with homelessness.
Sure.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So a lot of times, mental health issues and lack of access to care will create someone's experience with homelessness, but just as often, it is a symptom of someone's experience with homelessness. So yes, access to mental health and substance abuse services is absolutely a critical component.
Yeah. So there are. It seems like there are a lot of different organizations dealing with homelessness, and it for a person that's not in the middle of it, it's kind of hard to differentiate between those. But do you guys all work well together to support whatever function needs to happen from the initial contact with the individual to back to the normal life within society?
Right. Yes, absolutely. So City Care is among probably 60 organizations that are part of the Key to Home initiative in Oklahoma City.
60?
Yes, 60 organizations working together. Not all are shelter providers. Some of them have other pieces, other components. So Mental Health Association, obviously, they're providing different services. And so there's a lot of us who work on really issues of affordability and back to self-sufficiency. So we're supporting folks through those, deferred health and mental health challenges, getting them connected to the services that they need, as well as affordable housing. Affordable housing is just a huge component to that infrastructure of support for our city.
So, so 60, it's shocking to me. And of those 60, all of those are nonprofits.
Yes.
Other than the city of Oklahoma City, through City Hall, is in the middle of ensuring that there is a plan, a place and a plan that actually helps execute.
That's right. Yes. So what has been wonderful about Key to Home is it's allowed this convening space for us to all get together and establish priorities for the community based on data. What do we need right now? How many units of permanent supportive housing or affordable housing do we need right now? And then all collaborate on processes and programs to move people through that system as quickly as possible. We don't want someone to be in shelter very long.
Yeah. I mean, there's it, and for just a person that's not in that. But one of the reasons I think this is, this podcast is all about commercial real estate.
Yeah.
And how do we educate and how do we expose different issues about commercial real estate and how do we elevate different facets of our business. But homelessness is a interesting facet of our society, and it affects all of us, and it's throughout the society because we all drive down the street and we see that person holding a sign, and or we see the Curbside Chronicle being sold, which I love that idea because it does give purpose to those that homeless. They're actually creating something, writing articles, publishing it, and then selling it themselves. Whoever came up with that idea, I thought it was marvelous.
Brilliant. Yes.
So it gives them purpose because in life, all we want is experiences and love and purpose, right?
That's right.
To move, and that's what we need to do for the homelessness. So I'm sorry, I keep going back to 60 different agencies. So one of those agencies that I think has recently been successful is, you mentioned a second ago, the Key to Home.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about Key to Home and then how City Care is integrated with that.
Sure. So, Key to Home is an initiative that the city of Oklahoma City worked with some different players. Inasmuch Foundation, I know, was in those conversations. Clutch Consulting, Homeless Alliance has been a huge piece of that as well, to build a collaborative where we could stop working in silos. We were stepping on each other's toes because head down doing the work, you don't have time to know what's going on the other side of town, and resources are finite and time is finite, and homelessness is not intractable. That's the thing. Right. So we have data.
Interesting, yeah.
We have data that supports that if we all work pulling on the same rope in the same direction, that there are communities that have reached functional zero, and they've done that. And Clutch has had great experience in communities helping them towards that goal.
So what is Clutch?
So Clutch is a consulting company that has worked with different communities, Dallas, Austin, some different communities, and I think they're working in Tulsa now as well, to support a comprehensive plan that a city can adopt, again, based on best practice, to build a system that meets a person wherever they are. So from someone's living outside in an encampment to we have an affordability issue with housing and this person needs a pathway, back to self-sufficiency. So each of us sort of, plug in where we fit in, and for City Care, that has been low barrier shelter, street outreach, and affordable housing. So that's kind of where we plug into that system.
So you mentioned the word that I think is a little intriguing. I think there's some misunderstanding of what you said, encampments. So we all see these little pockets of homeless people.
Yeah.
And I constantly hear people say, "Oh, those are just people on drugs, and they want to be there, and they're their own little community and stuff like that." Let's educate folks on really what these encampments are and how you and the city handles those particular encampments.
Yeah, that kind of sentiment, it's very easy because the conversation gets to end and I get to turn my attention to something, more savory, right? When I can make a judgment about why someone's in the position that they're in. But the reality is even if the humanity and the divine in them, even if that doesn't stir you, the economics should. Because if we are not providing opportunities for folks to be self-sufficient, to work a dignified job and pay rent that is affordable to them, then we are colliding with that on the back end as a community. We are paying for it in experiences with the justice system, IMSA, ER visits, right? So it is
typically they don't have the money to pay for that. So
no,
the rest
of course they don't. Of course they don't. And so it is much less expensive for us to support folks into self-sufficiency than it is to ignore the issue or say that it's not my problem. In 2010, and I know that's like ancient ago, but Oklahoma City did a cost of homelessness study. At the time, they followed folks for a year. There was one gentleman in that study that cost the city of Oklahoma City $160,000. And at the end of the year, he was still homeless.
Wow.
He was homeless because we never addressed the root issue, which was the affordability issue and getting him access to services that he needed, right? And so we've spent all this money and we're still in the same place. It's bad policy. It's not a way to resolve this. And so what City Care has done over the last 30 years, we've built 112 units of affordable housing.
Wow.
And we do that through philanthropic community, through tax credits, through grants, things of that nature. But we're able to support someone for a year in housing where they are able to pay 30% of their income and never more. So they're not over cost burdened by housing. And we're able to provide all those wraparound services that they need. And we do that for about $9,000 a year per person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when you look at the cost of homelessness, so $160,000, that's extreme.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what's the norm.
Yeah.
It's $40,000. It's still very expensive. So every person that's out on the street that is chronically homeless, the city of Oklahoma City is paying about $40,000 a year to interact with them in a way that never addresses the root cause.
Well, I got many questions here, but first, how do you do this every day? How do you? I mean, it's a passion, and I admire this. And when I went to I can't remember whose home I went to.
Steve Payne's home.
Yeah, Steve Payne's, and for the first time I saw you, I didn't talk to you that night. I was inspired. I mean, I think what I heard was really, really. But how do you do it every day for 9 years?
Yeah, because I believe in our highest aim as a city, because I believe that we can be a place where everyone has an opportunity to thrive. And because day to day, when I'm in our shelters or I'm in our housing units with families, I see that it works. I see that folks who have, had substance use disorder are now in recovery. I see it every day. I see folks who have not had hope in a long, long time have hope when they're handed keys to their own place.
I bet it's pretty rewarding watching that person then become and continue.
Yes.
So, have you caught back up with some people 5 or plus years later and see how they're doing?
Yes. So we do stay in touch. That's the thing. It's that relational margin that I was referencing. We become that for people. And so, our case managers are with our folks for life. And sometimes we're going to see you every single week because you are new to your sobriety and you need a lot of support. And sometimes, we're going to see you every month. And then eventually it's when stuff comes up, we're here. Give us a call.
So how do we, I say we, I'm not part of this, but I'm more than happy to.
You are.
I have helped in many different ways.
Yes.
How do we get the community to understand what this is all about? Because you guys do a great, you got 60 organizations working together. The city has stepped in. Your organization and others are really, really making a difference in this city. But there's still this misunderstanding of the homeless person. How do we market and communicate to the community? And then how do people get involved? There's obviously the money aspect because it takes significant amount of money to support 60 nonprofits. And then, a lot of people are going to say, why do we need 60? There's got to be a lot of waste. There's got to be a lot of overlap. And I'm sure you guys are working on that. But how do we educate the community, both from you need to give, both of your resources, your financial resources, and your time?
Yeah, my job as CEO of City Care really is convening and contextualizing across sector, right? It's contextualizing for people how they fit. And so for, developers and folks who are in real estate, the conversation is really around affordability and how that is infrastructure. So just like roads are infrastructure, affordable housing is infrastructure. When you've got folks who are, in Oklahoma City, area median income, $61,000 a year, I think. And so when you're talking about not cost burdening someone to the point where they are vulnerable to losing their housing, we talk about 30%, right? Sometimes upwards of 50%, right, of your income is going to housing.
Which is unsustainable. People can't afford.
It's unsustainable.
You can't live if 50% of your net income is going to your housing.
Not when you have one emergency.
That's
you
right,
can't.
right.
You really can't.
You get a flat tire in your car.
Yeah.
Or your car breaks down. You can't get to work.
That's right.
And you don't have a job anymore.
That's right. So that is something that I think we do have to come to terms with, that if we're always developing for that upper, tier, then we're leaving this massive middle where it's folks in education and healthcare and the service industry, and housing is fundamental to those systems working and in a community thriving. And so really for folks in development, I just think about, we do need money always. City Care and all those organizations, we cannot operate without the philanthropic community. We are not getting massive amounts of federal funding, despite what you may be hearing. I think that's 1% of our
Is it
budget.
really?
Yeah.
We're going to get into that. 'Cause
Yeah.
I want to know. I want to understand where your money comes from.
Yeah. But so we do need money, but we also need cheap or free land. We need zoning laws that support density and multifamily housing units. We need political will, and we need the stomach for this is not episodic work. This is not something that you can do in a day and feel good about. A housing crisis it's long-term work. Affordability, it's long-term work, and it's you've got to hit it from livable wage and then also the affordability aspect.
Yeah. So you correct me if I'm arguing on the number. You said that you've built 112. Is that, you built 112. What is the need?
Yeah, I think the last gap analysis report for Oklahoma City, which was done by the Alliance to End Homelessness, the National Alliance to End Homelessness, the need was 68,000 units
Across the United States.
in Oklahoma City
68,000 units are necessary from a housing standpoint.
that are in that affordable housing range.
Affordable housing range.
Yeah.
So I sit on the Council for Bond Oversight for the state of Oklahoma. So the Oklahoma Housing Finance Agency is one of those conduits that
That's right.
help provide affordable housing to LIHTC, low-income housing tax credits.
Yes.
So we have a meeting every month, and we're constantly seeing new projects come through. Being in the commercial real estate industry, it surprises me the cost to build these new projects.
Yes.
And with what we experienced over the last 5 to 6 years, in the rise or the cost to build is probably 40, 50, 60% more than it was 5 or 6 years ago.
Yes.
Along with higher interest costs. So it becomes harder and harder to get to that. And then you talk about the median household income. So, I mean, it's a circle, and you have to balance all the pieces in there. So then I think our community has done a fabulous job. Our unemployment rate is very low. So if you want a job, you can get one job. But your median household income is in the 60s.
That's right.
We need to get that in the 70s and 80s so then we can afford these housing.
That's right.
It's a challenge. So are you finding that construction? Think about all the work. We have $10+ billion worth of construction going on just with all the projects that we have going on from the private and public sector.
Yeah.
That's driving up the cost of this low-income housing. How are you combating some of that?
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
It is tough, and we can't do it without subsidy. We absolutely can't. So the things that we build on our own, we absolutely require partnership with people like OFA and National Housing Trust Fund and the philanthropic community to get those things built. I just went on a tour in Atlanta a couple months ago, and they're doing a really good job of this, of including mixed income units into their developments. And so they actually require it. I think it's something like 20% of the doors, if you're building something, 20% of the doors have to go to low income.
To get a permit for a new multi-housing project?
Yes.
Everything, no matter
Everything.
what?
Everything.
We've had a couple of those projects. Here. Ron Bradshaw did his project over just by the Health Science Center there, and we got a couple of others. But in Atlanta, they're saying every project has to have an affordable element of 20%.
Yes.
That's interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
And, we asked all those questions, right? Like, how do you make the math work? And if the bottom line, what they said is, if you want a permit, you make the math work. So what's interesting about those projects that we toured is they're beautiful and all the amenities and all of the things, and it's a very dignified place for someone to live, so it's an interesting concept. But to further answer your question, I think we have to start thinking about dignified housing in a different way. I don't think that single family homes on a 7,000 square foot lot is the be all answer to every single situation. You know, one of our projects that we have is called the Pershing Center, and it's 60 apartments that are all interior doors, and they have common facilities, like common spaces that they utilize, and then the apartments are 1 bedroom and studios.
Okay.
And so I think there's other ways. I think that we've gotten further with the accessory dwelling units. I think that's one answer. I think I'm seeing projects where they're rehabbing, old motels or nursing homes, or repurposing buildings, I think is part of the answer. I don't think there's one shoe fits all.
Well, our company has a lot of office space across the country.
Yes.
And you're seeing a lot of cities are repurposing office buildings.
Yes.
And cities are actually getting involved by helping through TIF dollars or public assistance to ensure some of these get converted into housing, and some of them are actually affordable housing.
Yes.
Whether it's through a LIHTC program or just an affordable element that gets it down to the 30% that somebody can afford.
That's right.
And we've seen it in Oklahoma City. We saw the old Holiday Inn Hotel.
That's right. It's a perfect example.
Got turned into the bowl. So I think we're doing a fairly good job here.
I do too.
So I've had an idea.
Okay.
You're going to tell me if it's a good idea or a bad idea.
Okay.
So we have, I don't know, hundreds of different neighborhoods throughout this community. Why don't we get every neighborhood to have one house in that neighborhood that's devoted to providing for a transitional or a permanent housing for somebody through the homeless need. Yeah. And that that neighborhood takes on that family to help get them off the street. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I think it's a great idea. I think what I love about it most is what you're describing is kinship. You're describing relational margin.
You're good. You've done this for a while. You kind of know your stuff here. Kinship. I like that. Kinship. Yeah. I mean, it's about acceptance.
And, it is. It is. Yeah. And what I find in our communities, I want to tell you a story. We had this mom come into our shelter right when we opened. We had just been open a couple months, and she was a single mom, and she had a couple children, and she was pregnant. And when she went to the hospital, when you think about someone experiencing homelessness and then having a baby, DHS is most likely going to get involved in that scenario, right? Because if you don't have somewhere safe for your children, then they're going to get involved. Well, that comes with all sorts of problems that we won't get into right now, but we were able to advocate for this mom and bring them into our shelter, show them our family suites. And long story short, mom was able to bring baby home to our shelter. And when we brought baby home, the other families in the family suites had pulled together their resources to throw her a baby shower.
Oh, wow.
And Mark,
I got goosebumps.
I know, like when I tell you that these communities, they do take care of each other and they watch out for each other. But when everyone is high need and everyone's in a crisis moment, there's not a lot of resource to go around. Mm-hmm. So what you're describing is sort of taking that need and dispersing it so that it's not so concentrated.
Right.
Yeah. And giving them an opportunity to contribute in ways that they can contribute as well to that community.
Yeah, well, I bet you have a lot of stories. And I love that you've told 2 stories already, and I'm sure I could sit here and talk to you for hours and just listen to all these stories. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, I'm a little speechless right now because I got a lot of ideas here. So, you've been awarded a pretty recent from a very famous person. So tell us a little bit about your recent grant that was given to CityCare.
Can you imagine getting an email from Jeff Bezos?
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was spam,
Did you really?
Absolutely. I thought it was spam. So
Did you delete it? Did you have to get it out of your delete it?
I'll tell you why I didn't delete it. Because in quick succession, I received that email, and then I received an email from the CEO of the National Alliance to End Homelessness. And she said, Rachel, you're about to get an email, and it's for real. She sits on the body of folks who nominate agencies from across the United States. It's a closed process. So you don't get to, I'm accustomed to saying, hey, Mark, this is City Care, and sort of pitching the agency. Well, with Bezos Day One Families Fund, it's a closed process. You don't get to communicate with them at all. So yes, City Care was awarded a $2.5 million grant.
What's been your biggest grant that you've gotten?
That one.
That one.
And before that, it was a $2 million grant that we received from the Maybe Foundation probably 3 weeks prior. So we've had a really good year, Mark.
Yeah. So this all happened in December.
Yes.
So you had $4.5 million coming in. What's your total budget?
Yeah. Our total operating budget is about $6.7 million.
Wow. Yeah.
Last year, we raised about $8 million.
Wow. That includes that $4.5 million.
Yeah.
So that was extra. That was Is this a reoccurring grant every year, or is it a one-time?
Well, so some of the agencies who have benefited from this grant, because I immediately went to go do research, have received it more than once.
Oh, wow.
So it's for 5 years of work. And so some of the agencies have received it twice, and I saw one agency has received it 3 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So I want to make sure that we give the credit due. So tell me exactly what Bezos entity gave it, and what was it earmarked for?
Yeah. So Jeff and Lauren Bezos have a foundation called the Day One Families Fund, and their focus is specifically families experiencing homelessness. So what was interesting, and maybe it's this way with the ultra wealthy, I have no idea into that world, but basically they just said, we honor and recognize and appreciate the work you're doing, serve families experiencing homelessness. And that was it.
That was it.
That was it.
Well, what an honor. I don't even know how many dollars went to different cities, but how many different agencies or how many different cities got money earmarked?
I think there were 30 gifts.
And we were one of 30.
We were 2. City Rescue Mission also received $2.5 million.
So
yes.
we got 2 of 30. So we about
did.
7 to 8% of the total came to Oklahoma City.
That's right.
Wow. So
Yeah.
City Rescue Mission, are they a partner agency with you? They're one of the 60 that are helping solve this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So their CEO, Aaron Gooden, and I are friends, and we collaborate all the time. And we instantly got on the phone, and it's secret. So you don't know who else got the award until they make the public announcement.
Yeah.
So that's when Aaron and I figured out that we both were on that list.
Yeah.
So we get on the phone and immediately say, we've got to get together because we got to decide how to utilize this $5 million to best serve our community and not duplicate any efforts at all.
So do you have to report results to them on how the money was spent and the impact that you made?
I don't think so. I mean, we certainly are going to, but
because you want to get the next
That's
year.
right.
So, look, your money did this. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So what we plan on doing with it, don't tell anyone.
Okay.
This is a secret.
Well, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. What we plan on doing with it is we plan on creating a rehousing hub for families so that they never, or we can significantly shorten their shelter stay. So they never enter the shelter, or we significantly shorten it. And that is determined on multiple factors, but do they need employment help? Do they need mental health supports? All of those kinds of things. Are they working already? Do they need identification help? Because sometimes when you've experienced homelessness, you lose access to things like your birth certificate and your driver's license. And that takes a little time to recover because did you know you can't get a driver's license without a birth certificate, and you can't get a birth certificate without a driver's license?
No.
Yeah. So all of those things we untangle, and then we will have significant amount of funds to help launch someone. So maybe they're working, but they don't have the money for that first month's rent and deposit, right? And if we can use flex funds to support that and get them back into stable housing quickly, that's what we're going to do.
So, well, great. On that driver's license, so you work with Service Oklahoma to clean that up?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a great organization.
They are a great organization.
Since they kind of rolled some of that up together, I think that don't want to get too political here, but there's been a lot of consolidation and reprocessing and much better service from the state government to really improve the citizen
experience. That's right.
With the public sector. So that's good. That's awesome.
And then one of those 60 organizations is Upward Transitions, who they will fund the recovery of those documents because that takes money. And so again, if you're experiencing homelessness, you don't have money to get those documents, but you need those documents in order to apply for jobs, in order to apply for housing. So it's this big mushy ball that my team and several other teams across the city painstakingly peel back layer by layer until we get to the root issues, address them, and then bless and
release and
cheer them on.
Let them go. So talk to me of obviously you can't mention all 60, but let's talk a little bit about a couple of the agencies you work with, and one of them I mentioned to you earlier before we got on air was Focus on the Home.
That's right.
We've been supportive of that.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about how you work with maybe Focus on the Home and maybe one or two others.
Focus on Home has been a wonderful partner to us because as we're working through ending someone's experience with homelessness, so we're working them, through housing navigation, getting them access to the benefits that they need, the medical care that they need, and then all the way to lease in. And then what should feel like a joyous moment, you're opening the door to your new apartment, they may have nothing except the clothes on their back. And so Focus on Home has been a wonderful partner because they come in and just really offer an honoring and dignified experience to help us furnish homes for folks that are transitioning out of homelessness. So they're not sleeping on the floor of an apartment, which sometimes we could argue isn't much better than sleeping in a shelter bed, So they're really outfitting those apartments and they do a beautiful job of it. So it's really great.
And then all of their furniture is either bought by donated funds or you can donate your furniture there.
That's right. You've done that.
Give you an example.
Yeah.
So we renovated the Skirvin, completely redid every room, took all the old furniture out.
Yeah.
We donated furniture from 225 rooms in our hotel, and they used and they continue to still use that to fit hundreds of families' homes. And we're proud to do that. So I encourage anyone who's listening to this that if you have extra furniture, give it to Focus on Home because that is a wonderful organization. They're doing magnificent things to give people a feeling of comfort that they have a home that you help provide.
That's right.
But they can actually live in that home. Be proud
That's
of
right.
It, so.
You bring up an interesting point because people will often ask me, how can I help? What can I do? And
go buy a new dresser. Give me your old.
That's right. Yes, you can. But honestly, what I say is, what do you have? What kind of expertise do you have? What access do you have? Because when you're talking about someone transitioning out of homelessness, anything you have, they need. And so we've got folks I've got an artist friend who comes in and does art classes with our friends who live with us at Pershing. And she's got that skill. It is a wonderful and therapeutic, activity for our friends who are new to sobriety and trying to find ways to, be in community without substance use. And so it's a wonderful gift. Like you're mentioning, beds from the Skirvin, I can't imagine how great their sleep is now on those wonderful mattresses, So whatever you have, find a way to plug that into your community. There is someone who will utilize your skills and your resources. Yeah.
Okay, so us in the commercial real estate industry, we're a small industry. It's hard to get into. It's pretty select. It's not highly regulated. What can we do? And you mentioned a few things, zoning and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
What are some things that we in the commercial real estate industry can do to help provide resources and services to you?
I think the first thing is to be resourced. So know what community services are available and utilize those. So I have a board member who has a law practice, and he called me and said, I've got a gentleman who is living outside of my building help me help him, right? And so understanding that there is a community action line that you can call. If you see someone living in an encampment or a place that's not, meant for human habitation, which in commercial real estate, I know you guys encounter this, where people are trying to find respite from the elements in what can be life or death in Oklahoma. So being resourced and using those resources, community action line is huge. Knowing where the shelters are in town. So Homeless Alliance has a winter shelter that they run November to March. We have a shelter, City Rescue Mission, Jesus House, Catholic Charities. I mean, knowing what is around and how to use it. And then really, I would just encourage folks to find a place to engage and understand that this is a community issue. It impacts us all, whether it impacts you in your professional life or the taxes that you pay or in your heart because you're grieved to see someone who doesn't have access to stable housing. Find a place to plug in.
Yeah. Okay, so we're filming this on January 29th. It's not going to air because we're not a live podcast. Mm-hmm. One of the days we're going to be live. That's a whole different element.
Oh, don't invite me that time.
Yeah. So this is going to air probably late February. Mm-hmm. One of the things that's been on my heart, this has been a very tough week for us in Oklahoma because we have the very, very cold temperatures and we got a lot of snow that we've been able to manage. I've had on my heart all the homeless folks. How have they managed, and have we had some challenges, and I've been really worried about that.
Yeah. Me too. It's hard to sleep. It's hard to rest when you know how difficult it is out there. One of the beautiful things, again, about Key to Home and that collaboration is now, I mean, I'm on a text thread with a couple of CEOs and Jamie Caves from Key to Home, and we know exactly how many beds each shelter has available, how many overflow folks they have, and we're able to move people around if necessary. So in the last week, our shelters in Norman and Oklahoma City, we've been 24 hours, 7 days a week. We have. And so, my gosh, shout out to the advocates that work on the front lines because we're open every day.
Has everybody that wanted a bed been able to get some
Yes.
more? Okay.
Not a bed, not necessarily a bed. So
they can get inside.
They can get inside, yes. Okay. So we have had every bed is full, and we've been running about 30 extra people a night. I know that City Rescue Mission was up to 500. I know Homeless Alliance's shelter it was like up to 475. We were in Oklahoma City up to 175, in Norman up to about 65. Salvation Army has, I'm not sure of their numbers, but they've been running overflow as well. So City Care offers transportation. We have transportation, and we've been picking folks up from, downtown churches when, again, those churches are resourced. They know who to call. Someone shows up, they call us, and we're able to go pick someone up and get them into shelter.
Gotcha. So let's talk a bit about stats. And how do you know where people are, and how do you know how many people we have, and how do you, because, a lot of people think we have a huge homeless problem here.
Yeah.
But you go to other cities like LA or some others, and it's probably a little more vibrant there from a homeless standpoint than
visible,
here.
Yeah.
But people still, this is our community, and none of us want to see a homeless person.
Yeah.
Tell us approximately how many homeless people we think we have, and how you go about measuring or taking count.
Yeah. So there's a couple things that we have to establish first. So in education, there's something called McKinney-Vento. So just like put a pin in that. And then in the homeless services space, we kind of follow HUD's definition. Mm-hmm. So there's two different definitions of homelessness. Okay. So you're going to hear different numbers, and I want to just explain. Is that the
private sector, public sector? Public being HUD, private being this other organization?
Well, it's the school system. So it's Department of Education.
Department of Education, okay.
So they're looking at homelessness, and they're describing homelessness a little more broadly. So they're going to include couch surfing, families kind of stacked up, right? So you might hear we have around 20,000 students in Oklahoma who experience homelessness in a year. Yes.
20,000 kids.
Yes.
That experience their couch surfing. They're going from aunt to uncle,
Right.
grandparent, or friend sleeping on a couch.
That's right. At some point during the year. So
No
remember, it's not that they're homeless that whole year. It might be we got evicted
Yeah.
and we need a couple of weeks until we can afford, again, deposits and first month's rent and things like that.
Wow.
So that's McKinney-Vento. So over here on the HUD side, our definition is a little tighter, and they're defining homelessness as you are outside, you are in a shelter, you are in a transitional kind of situation. So we do this 24-hour census kind of survey every single year, and every metro does this, and all those numbers kind of roll up to HUD. So in Oklahoma City, we actually just had our counts called the point in time count, and it occurred on the 24th.
You do it monthly?
We do it every year.
Just once a year?
Yeah, for 24 hours. And we
Okay.
survey every single person that we can encounter experiencing homelessness. We go to encampments, we go to shelters, we go to folks who are panhandling, who might be in an intersection. So we try to get sort of the lay of the land. Now, we don't have this year's count yet because it just happened. But so last year, we counted a little over 1,800 folks. 1,840, I think, was the number. But that's one 24-hour census. And again,
Right.
people come in and out of homelessness. So you have to, so the rule of thumb is you times that by 5 or 6, and that's about your annual count. Another way to look at it is we all utilize the same database. It's called HMIS, and it's where we enter all of our case noting. We're checking people in and out of services and things of that nature. So you can look at HMIS and you can say, okay, 20,000 folks in 1 year were entered into HMIS to receive a service, a homeless service. So to get an exact count, I don't think we ever could, but I think we're probably pretty close when you look at HMIS or you look at that point in time count and kind of extrapolate. All right, we're gonna turn those beds over 5 or 6 times.
So you're at the 9,000 to 10,000 range on any particular point in time.
a year. Yeah.
Wow, that's more than I thought.
Yeah.
Is that just Oklahoma City? It's not our MSA, so we haven't included all the other counties.
No.
So if you, let's just call it 10,000.
Yeah.
And our population here in Oklahoma City, call it 800,000. Let's go on the high side, 800,000. So we're really looking at, what is that?
I have an English degree. You do the math.
Well, it's about almost 1% of
Yeah.
our population,
Yeah.
approximately. So that's
So to your point, we're doing a pretty good job.
Seems like low, but still,
But
we don't want anybody.
Right, they're people.
That's right. That's a great thing. They're just like you and
They're
I.
people.
They just haven't had that opportunity, or they've had an event in their life that has forced
Has
them
been
into this
catastrophic.
particular situation. Wow,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. Anything you want to add? This is the thing that, and frankly, and I said I was getting my thoughts together when we started, and I just said Rachel. I didn't say Rachel Freeman.
Yeah.
Rachel Freeman, CEO of City Care, been doing it for 9 years.
Yeah.
So, any parting thoughts you want to add?
I just want to express my gratitude to you for the opportunity to speak to your community. It's not my normal community that I get to be in front of and advocate for the vulnerable in our city. And so I just want to say thank you for that opportunity and just for your creativity and generosity and the way that you have stepped in and met needs for people.
Well, we want to continue to do that. And hope, so you feel free to reach out to me anytime.
Sure.
Thank you for being here. Right? So it really means a lot. And actually, Tori Bradley in my office is the one who actually said, Mark, you need to talk to Rachel. And I said, I do want to talk to Rachel. So this has actually been really good. I thank Tori for introducing us.
Yes, me too. She sits on our finance committee.
Does she?
Does the very boring work of this heart work, but I'm so grateful to her. Yeah.
She sits in our accounting and finance department, so she does a great job for us. So
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And look forward to connecting with you more in the future.
All right.
Thank you.